being here. Still getting these plants right here, so I'm gonna figure out where to stand. First of all, I was just reviewing your short film, Soft Songs of Peeling Fruit, and realized, wait, it's also about someone named Ha-young, also about someone she has a rich Korean boyfriend, her mom is not very rich. What's the connection between these two films? Is this like a story you've been working on for a very long time?
Yeah, well, first, thank you all for staying, and apologies for the late attendance. But yeah, first we made the short Soft Sounds of Peeling Fruit, which was made in partnership with Indeed and Rising Voices. It's the proof of concept for Smoking Tigers. It just kind of focused on one moment in Smoking Tigers, which is kind of the love between parents and mother and daughter. So yeah.
Is this a story that you've been wanting to tell for a long time? I mean, I don't know if this was an experience that's like going to these SAT camps or something.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've been writing the script for a very long time, and I knew that, the Korean hagwons are something that a lot of Korean American students go to when they're in high school. And so I feel like it's a place that's rarely seen in Hollywood films, and it's a place that I feel like is very special in the coming of age. So I wanted to kind of put a spotlight on that for Smoking Tigers.
And the Ha-young character is such the soul of the film. Can you talk about creating that character? I mean, it's a character that doesn't say a lot, isn't hugely expressive, yet contains so much of the feeling of the film. Yes, how did the two of you kind of collaborate in creating that character?
I think every project always starts with a really good script. So a lot of it was already written on the page. And I think what's great about reading a script versus watching the film is it's got the descriptions of kind of what might be in her head or moments that are happening in between. But I think we had rehearsals where we built in a lot of when she speaks English, when she speaks Korean. What was great about having a lot of Korean speakers on set was that we were also able to talk about what kind of Korean does she speak, because oftentimes you watch these films with Korean Americans and they either speak too well or they don't necessarily speak enough, or the Konglish just feels like it's not natural. So a lot of us had conversations about what was the best way to do that. And in terms of the non-speaking part of it all, I think that's just, I trusted Shelly as a filmmaker, so I wasn't really worried about if I needed to show anything. I just assumed she had it.
Do you want to speak to the creation of that character as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think what really helped bring Ha-young to life is an actor like Ji-young, who really understood what we were going for in the feature. And I think what really helped was kind of our conversations in rehearsals. So we went through every scene together and kind of talked about, kind of tailor fit each line of dialogue specifically for her. So it felt natural when she was saying it, and it didn't feel forced or cringy. So I think that was part of the collaboration that was really wonderful.
Were there, in these rehearsals, were there versions where it was more kind of dramatic, or were you trying to calibrate the right kind of the stillness and all that? Like, for instance, when Rose betrays you, you could have been a lot more catty about it, or I don't know if there were versions that were different that you kind of worked through.
Yeah, I'll speak first. But I mean, part of what the character Ha-young doesn't understand is she has power, but she doesn't feel like she deserves to use it. So I think even in that scene, even though she wants to say anything, she feels like she's lesser than, so she doesn't have the right to say anything. So that's kind of why it was as it was.
I think there was. Oh my God! Can you repeat the question? I'm so sorry.
Were there times in which your instinct is to be more expressive, to emote more, and then you're kind of figuring out what the right balance is?
Well, I had actually read Shelly's Soft Sounds of Peeling Fruit script, so I kind of had a sense of tonally the kind of vibe that she enjoyed. But I think there was a lot more, especially in the dinner scene. I have a distinct memory of us taking the script, and it had been much longer, and that she had a much larger monologue of really laying into her father. And as we went on through the rehearsals and then through production, we just kept making it shorter and shorter and shorter, which I think really worked, because I think it feels a lot more concentrated when she's just saying a few words but means them so much more. I think I didn't really necessarily think about pushing bigger. I just was focused on the words, I think.
I think it matches the aesthetic of the film very well, which is a lot about observation, kind of feeling like feeling a distance between characters, the distance between the camera and the characters. I mean, so much of it comes through your approach of filming people through windows, through doorways, through reflection, shadows. How did that style come about?
Yeah, so kind of the visual language of the film came because my DP and I, one of the things that I learned from my DP is, I can make a shot list and it could be excellent, but how to bring it to life is to really sit in the locations and make sure it works for the locations that we have. So thankfully our producer granted us time to sit in the locations and kind of live out each shot so that we made sure that the shots exist in the world that the characters are living in, and not because we're forcing it to be there. So I think because of that, we're able to discover this visual language, which is the reflection motifs that you see throughout the film. And I think, that kind of close collaboration really helped us find that language.
Can you just talk about finding these locations? I mean, the houses, these architectural spaces are such an integral part of the style. What was it like? How did you know you had the right house, for instance, and garage and diner?
Yeah, I think it was really, really hard. And I think it took a lot of searches to make sure that, it made sense to the story that we're trying to tell. And honestly, it took just endless hours of just online searches to try to find the right houses and locations that fit the story. Yeah.
Let's take some questions from the audience. If anyone has any questions.
Where was it shot?
It was shot in Southern California. Some parts were in Koreatown, some parts were in Pomona, some parts were in the Valley. So it was all around Southern California.
I mean, even within Southern California, there's sort of different pockets of Korean American experiences. Exactly. Were you trying to, were there any specific Korean neighborhoods or K-Town Koreans versus Bonaparte Koreans or something that you were trying to map out?
We weren't, but actually in the writing of the script, I wanted it to still make sense because she's biking in different neighborhoods. So I mapped out exactly what parts of Los Angeles she would be biking from so that, some people aren't saying hey, it doesn't make sense she's biking from Buena Park all the way to Lockers, Glendale, So I made sure logically it made sense.
Other questions? Yeah.
What year was it supposed to take place in? Because it seemed like it was maybe late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, it was supposed to take place in 2008, and it was mostly because I was growing up during that time, but also we wanted to kind of strip Instagram and social media from it, because I think social media, if Ha-young was in a social media era, people would have discovered her secret very quickly. But because of that, we stripped it all out.
Were there other things you had to do to create 2008?
Cell phone was a huge indicator. Some of the music choices, it was referencing Nelly and T-Pain. So, those are just some.
I'm such a nerd that to me the indicator was the 2100 SAT score.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay. Other questions? Yeah.
Can you explain the title of the movie?
Yeah. There's many reasons for the title, but one of the reasons is because, as you can see in the movie, there's a lot of mirrors and reflections. And I think a lot of Korean immigrants, when they come to America, they have this illusion, this grand American dream that they're going to be successful and be very happy and live a perfect life. But in the end, once they come here, there's a lot of struggle and adversity that reveals that it's all smoke and mirrors. So I kind of wanted to reflect some of that. I also heard somewhere that Korean folktales would start with "in the time of smoking tigers," and we wanted this kind of very intimate story to have this grand, epic opening of this folktale. So that's part of the reason. But honestly, I love hearing personal, like, audience members and hearing their own interpretation of the title, because there's never a point in the film where we say, like, smoking tigers at all. So I kind of like that it's detached from the story, so you can say your own interpretation.
Yeah, for me, it's almost like the smoke, the father is smoking
That's
and
true
the jacket.
too. Yes, exactly. She learns the taste of cigarettes.
Right.
Like, she didn't understand initially why you would smoke and kind of kill yourself, but later she understands her father's pain and struggle.
I don't know if this is your intention, but I've never seen a movie that made me appreciate cigarettes so much.
That
The
was-
taste of cigarettes.
That was always a fear, where, like, we don't want this to be like pushing students to smoke, and we hope that it doesn't do that.
I mean, like, you have such great objects in the film, like the cigarettes, you have the lipstick, you have the name pin. These are all things that were in the script too, or kind of like the locations you just discovered as you were going along?
Always in the script. Yeah, we made sure that, you know, I really love Bresson films, and we, like, in the making of this, you know, we wanted to make each prop really feel recognized and needed. So I think with each location, we found that prop. And also with each location, there's a connection to each character. For example, the saunas are very connected to the mom. The carpet location is very connected to the father. Yeah.
Other questions? Yeah.
I was missing that the daughter did not play piano. So usually that goes hand in hand, the high grades and the musical ability. So was that purposely not thought about? Or?
Yeah. No, for sure. Thank you for the question. I mean, we definitely had a version of the script where the daughter fought with the mom and, like, said, the mom is very frustrated with the daughter because she was like, why don't you kind of take on my talents, right? But then I think Ji-young is such a rebellious character that she is just forging her own path. And that path is extremely opposite from whatever her mom wants her to do, especially at this point. So I think in the time span of Smoking Tigers, which is over a summer, she doesn't touch the piano or want to get near the piano. But I think after that, there might be, if the story continues, she might take up piano.
Yeah.
What was your favorite scene to see brought to life?
Yeah, I think my personal favorite scene are the sauna scenes. I just think it's iconic for Korean culture, and also when I was growing up, I hated going to the sauna because I just didn't understand why we have to be naked in front of all these strangers. But I think over time, I understood my mom's intention of going to the sauna. She had a hard day's work, and she just wanted to scrub all of the world and just be in a pure state. And so I started to understand and see kind of the meditative, like very serene location, which is the sauna. And so when we were shooting that, it was a very tricky location to shoot and to acquire, which I want to give a shout out to our associate producer, Sarah, who's in the crowd. Yeah, who really helped secure that location for us. But when we were able to get that location, it really felt like the movie was really coming together.
I don't know if Ji-young, you wanted to answer this question as well. Any moments in the film that were especially meaningful to you to perform in?
Oh, that's a really good question. Fun fact about actually the spa. We shot at Century City Spa in K-Town. I don't know if anyone's familiar.
We Spa?
No, Century City. But if you watch The Brother's Son, it's the same spa that they have a really big fight in. So we did basically the same thing. I think one of the things, I mean, this whole project was very meaningful because it had so much intention and care and passion behind it. I think one of the scenes I was most looking forward to seeing, a lot of them are the shots that as an actor you can't necessarily figure out the composition while you're doing it. And because we did so many reflection shots, I would ask essentially like how much of me was landing in the shot, but I didn't really have a sense of exactly what it looked like. So, you know, when we shot that really nice shot of us in the pool, they were pointing the camera directly into the water and then telling us to go, and I was like, I don't know what that's gonna look like, but okay. And then I think probably the biggest one of that was the one take of the fantasy in the model home. Because I saw, you know, Ara, little Erin, like running to get to her mark. And so I didn't see the magic of the lights being tuned to come up and down at the perfect times and the family coming in and out of shot. It took a lot of coordination. It's always really fun to see that pay off.
Got time for another question or two? If anyone has questions? Yeah.
Is there a conscious choice to like change the title, or I guess because I watched the short film as well, as to change the soft sounds of Peeling Fruit to Smoking Tigers? Because yeah, I really enjoyed the last scene of soft sounds of Peeling Fruit. So I wonder if there's like an intentional choice of not including that, and then also changing the title.
So fun fact is Smoking Tigers, the feature, came before the short film. So actually the title came, Smoking Tigers came before. So when I was writing the short film, a short film just structurally and overall is so different from the feature, right? So I just really wanted to focus on one element to represent like parental love, and that became the fruit. And so just ultimately came up with the title based on that. But for Smoking Tigers, that was always kind of the title. Yeah.
Any other questions? Well, I've got one last question. Since you're back in San Diego, I am curious, because UC San Diego is not really like a film school. You went to Columbia afterwards, that's a real film school. No, I mean, not saying UCSC is not a real film school, but I'm actually very curious, like, what did you get from that experience at UCSD that maybe ended up on the screen here, or that helped you become the filmmaker that you are?
Yeah, so does anyone go to UCSC here? Film school? Yay, okay, cool. So like when I was there, there was this professor named J.P. Gorin, who I know may be a little problematic, but he literally changed my life and changed how I look at movies. And I think he really inspired me to just continue. And he, because of his classes, I wanted to continue the journey. And his approach is slightly more European, I guess. And also, I had Lyda Luxurdi, who's an experimental filmmaker. And she was at UCSC for some time. She was my mentor, and she taught me a lot of experimental films. And so I learned a lot from them. While I was at UCSC, I was like, okay, this isn't the kind of cinema I want to make. I want to make real, like, Hollywood blockbuster movies. But I think once I got to film school, I was like, okay, actually, there's a lot there that I think is actually more valuable than any of the movies that I'm seeing in theaters right now. So even if it didn't seem like it at the time, it was very influential to my kind of upbringing. Yeah.
All right, so what's with the film now? Like, where can people continue to discover, tell their friends about it?
You want me to say it? Okay. Well, we're going to the VC Film Fest in a couple weeks in LA, which is going to be our LA premiere, which will be really fun. Then it's going to Jeonju Film Festival in Korea, which is, yeah, thank you. It's a really wonderful indie film fest in Korea. And then I think there's a few other stops that we're making along the way. Yeah, Cam in the Bay. Diaspora. You see, this is why you should announce it. And then later in the year, we'll be having a little theatrical run. And then you'll be able to watch it on Max.
Whoa.
Yeah, which is really exciting.
Congrats.
And we'll hopefully have real specific dates for you soon. So when that happens, please stream and buy tickets.
Well, thank you, Ji-young. Thank you, Shelly, for being here. And thank you all for your questions and watching.
Thank you for staying for this long.
Have a good night.
Yeah,